Coronation, Starscream. This is bad comedy.
In Transformers' plethora of marketable characters, there are plenty of options to be your favorite, but not all options are created equal. Optimus and Megatron are generic but respectable choices, while Shockwave and Soundwave will considerably boost your social credit score since it shows you at least know more about Transformers than the average confused normie I corner in the toy aisle at Target. So, who's your favorite Transformer? Grimlock? That would make sense if you share the same mental wavelength as him. Bumblebee? Well, that's the Starbucks option. Safe, boring, uninteresting. You likely exude background NPC energy that screams, "I've only watched Bayformers," if he's your pick. Maybe it's Alita 1, in which case, congrats on being one of the 6 female fans. Statistically, you must be my girlfriend or mom because the only way one of you would be watching this is out of pure obligation. Going with someone like Wheeljack? Well, look at you trying to be original, but let's be real. Your true favorite is too much of a normie pick to admit, and you're self-aware enough to realize that. Oh, you're a Windblade stan. Well, what, do you want a medal for knowing C-tier characters? Alright, let's see, who else can I put down to piss off people as fast as possible? Cliffjumper is nobody's favorite, so you're a liar if you choose him. Jazz is hardly a character, so if he can't be your pick. Combiners are only good as a team. Individually, they're as interesting as multicolored construction paper. Ultra Magnus means you're an Optimus fanboy who's trying too hard to come off as original. Let's be real, we all know what you are for picking RC. Any human character means you're an out-of-touch Hollywood executive that thinks audiences can only connect with humans and are responsible for ruining countless franchises. And lastly, Ironhide's deaths are all because he's an expendable flat character, so get over it and pick someone better.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
So, aside from all the basic picks, deadweight, and nobodies, who's left? Throughout all the iterations and variations of the franchise, Starscream routinely sweeps the cast of characters like the time I challenged my local paraplegic children's hospital to a Mortal Kombat-style tournament. You'll notice that his core character remains intact across every iteration because he is without flaw and therefore requires no changes. Wheeljack will be a go-go gadget tech support guy in one timeline and a ninja commando badass with Vietnam PTSD in the next, while in the background, Starscream is being a scheming, slippery little rat in both. When I talk about Starscream, I'll be using G1 as my primary source, since that's where the root of just about every Transformers character comes from and is where they're arguably at their purest, but a lot of what I have to say can be applied to almost any iteration of the character, something you can't say from any others. The main reason I think Starscream remains so consistent is because he has a clearly defined role and personality, which is easy to recognize and hard to ignore, so even the most empty-headed writers could grasp it before they go on to write the next Jurassic World movie. Starscream is an opportunistic, arrogant, narcissistic traitor with a varying degree of sadism who fancies himself a ruler despite not being the best candidate, but that part applies to just about any politician, I suppose. This brings him into conflict with Megatron through various attempts to undermine or overthrow him in a bid to proclaim himself supreme leader of the Decepticons. Even when Starscream does assume command in some cases, he always rules in the shadow of Megatron, winding up in a constant struggle to prove himself. While Starscream is a Decepticon through and through, ultimately siding with their ideology even in the instances where he is tempted to join the Autobot side, his personal ambition often trumps any loyalty to the cause. He readily will go rogue and act as an independent faction or even collaborate with the Autobots depending on what best serves his needs. Despite being a skilled and dangerous warrior, he is often cowardly, knowing when to turn tail, and prioritizes survival over any valiant last stand.
Sometimes cowards do survive.
In many cases, he is seen to be quite intelligent and scientifically minded, even if this intellect doesn't translate into tactical or strategic brilliance.
Testing the Energon cubes! They work!
Of course they work!
You didn't know! You never tested them! I proved it!
He adores being in command and having his ego fed, taking great offense to those who question his leadership, particularly in comparison to Megatron.
There is no Megatron! Megatron is offline! Terminated! I did it myself! Saw it myself!
Some of his natural rivals then include characters such as Soundwave, who are loyal to Megatron, or those like Arachnid, who are equally as ambitious in pursuit of the Iron Throne. The main takeaway is that Starscream often has several different interests and goals which play off of others very nicely. Unlike a huge majority of the cast, whose goals and motivations are largely aligned with that of their faction or leader, Starscream always has independent and personal objectives to work towards. In other words, he is a real character with his own ambitions. Now, I know that sounds bad, like I don't think any other Transformer characters have, well, character, but that isn't the case. With Starscream, his independent aims and dual allegiances to both himself and the Decepticons puts him in a prime position to make decisions for himself, driving the entire story at times based on actions that stem from his character and the choices he makes. There are other characters like this in some iterations, such as RC in Transformers Prime. RC has multiple grudges and traumatic memories surrounding the deaths of previous partners, leading to a rivalry with Arachnid and, to a lesser extent, Starscream. I can't even go on a tangent without him being relevant. These grudges and intense emotions regarding them lead her to handle situations and people differently than she maybe otherwise should, generating drama with friends and leading her to make decisions which may jeopardize the mission or go against direct orders. This is what a good character should be, a unique person who has their own desires, worldview, and experiences, which informs their actions. This will often naturally lead to degrees of agency, where the story and the world around them are impacted as a result of their doing, and they are free to act of their own accord. No one likes a character who exists to be an unopinionated servant to someone or some organization, getting dragged around by people and events around them. That is, unless said character's design goes incredibly hard, in which case, hell yeah, welcome to S tier.
Oh, come on! You gotta admit this is cool!
While characters like RC get a series or two to shine, very few remain as consistently character-driven as Starscream. Name any iteration of Transformers and you can almost guarantee Starscream will be at the forefront, driving the plot with numerous points due to his high degree of agency and active role in the story. For example, in G1, Starscream often foils Megatron's plans either through overconfidence or deliberate sabotage. He drives the conflict of numerous storylines, including the aftermath of the Ultimate Doom and teaming up with Dr. Archival for personal gain, assuming control of the Decepticons after Megatron is presumed dead, going rogue and forming his own team of Combaticons after he was exiled for the 135th act of treason, attempting to bring his friend Jetfire into the Decepticon fold only to drive him away, accidentally awakening the Autobots after their crash landing on Earth due to celebratory gloating, sabotaging Nightbird since she became a threat to his position, and even giving Megatron the final boot to the movie, leading to the birth of Galvatron and giving Unicron his army. This isn't even beginning to scratch the surface of the number of times Starscream is involved in the inciting incident or resolution of dozens more episodes. He was such an MVP of G1 they brought back his ghost to attempt to resurrect Unicron and ultimately got his body back.
It's your old buddy, Starscream! Starscream!
This same ghost then even crossed shows and made it into Beast Wars. He was that impactful. I could spend all day ranting about Starscream's legacy across the series, but the point is that he regularly drives the storylines he's a part of through actions as a result of his character's personal views and goals. Aside from Optimus and Megatron, name one character with routinely this much agency and story impact. His core motivations and dual allegiances to the Decepticons and himself so often creates naturally interesting dynamics with other characters. Of the entire Transformers cast, Starscream obviously goes hand in hand with Megatron, but he can generate an immediately interesting interaction with just about any character driven primarily by his strong core traits. With someone like Shockwave or Soundwave, he can find competition in a possible rival to his status. With Optimus Prime, he can see a worthy foe and the potential glory defeating him would bring. Or with Arachnid and Nightbird, he finds challengers to rival his sex appeal.
She's not so hot.
She's hot enough to replace you whenever I choose.
His alleged teammates are often bigger threats to him than any Autobot ever is. He's unique in that he is essentially in a faction of his own.
I have gained a clear understanding of my place in this universe, of who I am. Starscream, aligned with no side, servant to no one.
Very few other Transformers are in such a special position, and it is all driven by the fact Starscream is that much of an interesting character who spawns an abundance of writing opportunities from merely existing in this role. For a strong and well-developed character, nearly any interaction they have with anyone could be fascinating just to see how they handle the person and what they can bring to the table. Put Matt Murdock in a room with any character from Daredevil and you have the potential for a great scene. Throw Tony Stark into a scenario with a complete rando and you can imagine he'd still make it entertaining. Darth Vader instantly steals any scene he's a part of. Why do you think he shows up in everything nowadays?
He Vadered! He Vadered!
But now, put Cliffjumper and Thundercracker together. What are they going to do or talk about? Probably trade insults and shoot each other, I suppose. How about Ironhide and Prowl? What'll they talk about? Alita 1 and Shockwave? Who's leading that conversation? What insight could anyone share? How would they treat one another beyond simple friend or foe? Now, put Starscream in. Unless he's paired with someone like Optimus or Megatron, I think we at least know who's in the driver's seat of any interaction. Does he see friends as foes, and vice versa? Will he try to find Decepticon allies to back him? How do they respond to his authority? Does he try to strike a deal with an Autobot? Will he prioritize destroying the enemy over his own personal goals? If tested on his loyalties to the Decepticons' interests versus his own, where will he land? His going against the grain leads to an incredible amount of naturally emerging potential. Starscream's aspirations and traitorous shenanigans pit him as an underdog, and it's no secret that people love an underdog. He's in a constant uphill battle against Megatron's authority and proving himself in the eyes of his fellow Decepticons. Even when he gets the rare opportunity to wear the crown, he is still beset on all sides by those who question his rule. It often feels as though it's the world versus Starscream, and since his ultimate goal is to overthrow the main bad guy, it's easy to root for him and support it, because we want to see Megatron lose too.
How do you feel, mighty Megatron?
Plenty of times in G1, Starscream ends up being an indirect Autobot ally as he undermines Megatron's plans, and in some cases, such as Armada, he ends up being one of the good guys, still for his own reasons.
Do as Optimus says and join forces with the Autobots, or else every last one of us is doomed. Please, sir, do it for me.
Starscream was a hero. I just couldn't see it.
Someone with clear, lofty personal goals, facing tough obstacles to get there with the odds stacked against him, who keeps on persevering despite failures and setbacks, is a recipe for the ultimate likable underdog. The brief moments he gets in the sun are the supreme payoff to a sometimes multi-season long build-up. He's not coming out on top all that much, but when he does, the payout feels even sweeter. However, one realm in which Starscream certainly is not the underdog is battle.
Guess it's your turn.
He may not be the fastest, strongest, or most ruthless. In many fights he does end up losing, but despite his lackluster win rate being on par with the Immortal, he is Air Commander of the Decepticons for a reason. Starscream is an absolute unit on the battlefield. This is the move that made the Autobots cry. Is he the most feared Decepticon? No. Let's be real though, nobody quivers in their boots when Reflector enters the fray, and not a single person feels the need to lock in against Blue Streak. Starscream routinely goes toe-to-toe with Optimus Prime himself, and even has the cast iron manifolds to have a go at Megatron on a regular basis.
Funny, isn't it, Megatron? How easily I defeated the one adversary you couldn't.
Silence!
Other characters recognize his presence in combat, and he rightfully demands the enemy's attention.
It's Starscream!
No!
Retreat! Fall back! Incoming!
I would argue Starscream only loses most of the fights he does due to protagonist plot armor. The writers are afraid to let him use more than 10% of his power.
The Energon powers are unbelievable! If you keep fighting, you'll destroy this entire planet! Your combined energy will rip the Earth apart!
Now, I understand Starscream may not be everyone's cup of tea. The biggest point people may have against him would be claiming that he is one note. All he does is constantly scheme and backstab Megatron.
Doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again. Expecting shit to change.
However, there's a lot more to it than that. Even in G1, where you could say he's definitely acting out that role each episode as part of the status quo formula, there are plenty of times where he is presented with interesting choices. For instance, he opts to pick his loyalty to the Decepticons over his old friend Skyfire. There are also still numerous times where Starscream does follow Megatron despite his objections, because there is a loyalty to the cause and begrudging acknowledgement for the chain of command, which often overrides disdain for Megatron personally.
Power flows to the one who knows how. Desire alone is not enough.
Time makes all things possible. I can wait.
Still, I will admit he is fairly repetitive in G1 compared to Armada, Prime, Fall of Cybertron, or Skybound, but that would be a symptom of the Saturday morning cartoon format more than anything. He has a role in that show which he always has to fulfill, as does everybody else. It's only that his job is more obvious. As far as fulfilling that role, he manages to deliver a deliciously evil and entertaining outing each time.
Oh, how it pains me to do this.
I still function.
Wanna bet?
In that regard, another aspect of Starscream some may find annoying, at least in G1, could be his voice.
You can't keep me
in here, Megatron!
It is a very shrill, screeching kind of voice, and I wouldn't necessarily blame anybody for being turned off by that. However, I don't think you can argue it doesn't fit the character quite well. Soundwave without his vocoded monotone would subtract from his character, and Starscream without the conniving, snake-like voice just wouldn't be the same. The voices of animated characters go a long way in characterizing them. It makes plenty of sense to give the traitorous schemer a voice befitting a snake. So snake-like, in fact, that he shares his voice with the Bin Laden of a snake-themed terrorist organization in another life.
How dare he do that? Get him off the screen!
While we're on the topic, I do have to say this character has been blessed with some truly great voice actors that have served him all beautifully. Christopher Collins for G1, Michael Dobson in the Unicron trilogy, Steve Blum coming in for Transformers Prime, and Transformers Animated having SpongeBob SquarePants himself, just to name a few.
You interrupted my speech!
Starscream is spoiled for good voice talent. I feel bad for not being able to gush over every single actor he's ever been played by, but I'd just be here all day reading off names and playing clips, which I'm not opposed to, I guess.
You think I've gone through all this for an arrogant fool like Megatron? This power is mine!
Another stylistic point worth mentioning is Starscream's character design. This obviously changes radically between media, with varying quality, but let's face it, the bad guys almost always look cooler. It's not my fault the McDonnell Douglas F-15 fighter aircraft is a cooler vehicle than a janky Volkswagen Beetle. It is a well-documented fact that military hardware makes our monkey neurons activate. You don't even blink at a passing semi-truck, but seeing a tank out and about is something you immediately throw onto your Instagram story. The Decepticons have nailed the cool factor. This is not up for debate. As a Decepticon, then, Starscream routinely goes into A rank and above on the tier list of style. I know design and aesthetic are preferences and highly subjective, but let's be real, most of you are probably here watching a video glazing Starscream in large part because you think big robots are intrinsically cool, and if you deny Starscream's designs pretty much always warrant purchasing a $200 masterpiece figure, then you're absolutely mental, or legally blind, in which case I'm sorry. Look, I'm not gay. Yet, I can acknowledge Chris Hemsworth, Henry Cavill, not you, and Michael B. Jordan are objectively pretty good-looking dudes. So even if you're some big car guy who prefers a 2010 Camaro to an F-22 Raptor, you cannot deny, on an objective level, that the Raptor is an awesome use of your tax dollars. I rest my case. As much as I could continue to swoon over my #1 best boy, I would like to keep this video under the duration of a feature-length film so that I can release something to my starving Transformers fans sometime this year. For those who haven't heard, my watch party content is shifting to a second channel, and I'm streamlining how those videos are made, so I promise you'll be getting more content here on the main channel. Regardless, let me know who your favorite Transformer is, so I can destroy you with so much facts and logic that you come to realize how blind you've been and are converted to the one true answer.
I, Starscream, am now your leader. Decepticons, follow me!
And just remember, all opinions are valid, but some are more valid than others. Mine. Thank you all for watching, and have a good day.
I'm gonna have to call the director.
That's okay. Trust me.
Hail Starscream.